Forge. He's one of the characters of the X-Men who has been around forever, and nobody. It seemed like Chris Claremont cared, but nobody else has. Why? Why is that? Hey there, this is Perch. Talking about Forge. So Forge. It pains me to kind of say it this way, in case you don't know who that is. Forge is a long-standing member of kind of the X-Men mythology. He's been an actual member of the team, but kind of an auxiliary member of the team. He's kind of come and go. Like I said, I think he was one of Claremont's favorites. He showed up. Oh, here I want to say in the 170s of Uncanny X-Men. I may be wrong about that, but it was in that time frame. This would be the 80s. And Forge, basically, I'm going to give you his backstory in a nutshell. He was a veteran, Vietnam veteran. He was a Native American soldier. He had the mutant power of, for lack of a better word, invention. He could build things. He could create things. He was dubbed the Maker as a result, and he also had kind of magic shaman powers. Kind of, this is many people have actually pointed to, and very few people have come out and said it outright. But there's been this kind of whisper rumbling campaign that is right along the same lines as what happened to Rick Remender and Hickman and a couple others, where a bunch of people started kind of whispering within the industry about problematic writers, in particular writers who wrote things that were not okay. And these were a bunch of people who operated out of trash news sites like a CBR or Bleeding Cool or places like that, and they didn't work in the industry, but they kind of wanted to. And so part of what they did is that they went out and they kind of trashed certain writers, and they did so in a way that was always kind of could be slightly defensible. So if they encountered editors or people who were hiring at the big companies, they could be like, well, I was just pointing out a fact. I wasn't going after your company. They always do this in this really kind of sneaky way, or sometimes used aliases to do it. But Claremont was one of these, and he was often tagged for being sexist and racist, kind of in his portrayal of things. And one of the big common things people would point to is Forge. It's like, oh, you've got this Native American character, and of course, oh, he's a Native American shaman. He knows his Native American spiritual magic powers. Oh, how, of course. And I'm not sure to this day why that was a big insult tag to anyone. I think it's goofy. I think it's a lot of writers use stereotypes. A lot of these same writers have gone on to do the look, she's a young girl genius scientist who knows all things about math and is a little bit autistic and or has Asperger's or these kinds of things. And the reality is, Forge is a character who was written quite well. He's a kind of complicated past. He was working with the government to make a weapon that would basically strip mutants of their powers, and he was tied into kind of that whole, kind of dark and creeping future. And he was doing it kind of under the auspice of dangerous mutants. This be a way to contain them. It could strip people their powers, and then the people he was making the weapon for decided, hey, let's go shoot Storm, and he was horrified by this, and Storm had kind of lost her powers, but she had kind of taken in with Forge, and then she discovered that he was the one who made the weapon, and so then they kind of had a romance, and then it blew up because this betrayal, and then much later on during the Fall of the Mutants, they catch back up again with Forge, who Storm is tricked into believing is trying to open up a gateway of demons, but is actually this kind of a Nancy-like character who was up to no good, trying to do the trickster demon, and so Storm got to conceivably watch Storm die. He thought she died, and then kind of came back into the picture later. And then they did the character super dirty when they had Storm marry Black Panther, and they wrote Forge like this kind of bitch kind of character, just kind of like moody and jilted, if you will, character. But Forge, I mean, this is and there's that encompasses like 100 comics of dense Claremont writing, so it's a lot deeper than that. But the character itself was cool, could make things, kind of had that super science plus mysticism plus mutant powers plus Native American. There was just a lot of elements to draw from, and you think about a character where you could go in a million directions of being really incredibly formidable against heroes and villains, and also being able to tap into kind of some different kind of characters. I mean, it's funny because you could take a character like Forge, and you could put I mean, God, if you put Barry Windsor Smith on a Forge book, which would be impossible, of course, these days. But if you put him on there and gave Claremont to write it, and just had do some what DC has done, do a 12 issue kind of maxi series there, and you could have, I mean, the elements you could have Forge kind of bucking up against Tony Stark for invention of things, and kind of this arms race. Both have kind of that some of that background to them, so they could have that kind of rivalry. You could have Forge step in and do some stuff with Doctor Strange. It'd be pretty incredible of the mystical side of things. And I mean, it's a character that, if written well with a good artist, you could do some pretty amazing things. I mean, Mike DeMundo would be another kind of more recent artist that might be able to do something pretty incredible with Forge. But the key to the character is that you've got to, play up kind of this man of multiple worlds, which is what Claremont did very well. He had a spiritual side, he had a technology side. He was a mutant, but his mutant power, uh, he had a very real kind of war experience. So as a veteran, he had that kind of side to him. There's just a lot of elements that make this one of the kind of perfect unused characters in modern day Marvel, who could do just so much with this guy. And it's as Marvel kind of struggles to pull in new readers and appeal to new audience. I mean, imagine kind of a book that's really designed to appeal to Big Easy kind of Punisher uh, kind of audience, not with the violence, but kind of that more gritty kind of realistic tale, but kind of a solo mission of a character. You have that veteran side you can explore. Don't make it hokey. Don't take this character and do kind of this yuck kind of humor nonsense. Have it be a very serious story, maybe a tragic story of this guy who can fit in many different worlds, but really doesn't fit into any of them for whatever reason. Has never been accepted by the mutant community, maybe because he depowered Storm once upon a time, but just has always been seen as kind of this outlier. And then on the other hand, have this super science technical aspect to him. I think an amazing thing you could do with this character, and it's kind of one of there's many, unfortunately, over the years, really from kind of comics up until 2005 or so. There were a lot of really interesting characters. Both big publishers had a built up kind of this arsenal. Captain Atom is another one who has a lot of kind of interesting dynamics to that character, and there's a character that kind of fell right off the roadmap, or kind of that the globe of people's understanding. And in recent issues of Batman, you see the character being used as a joke, getting beat up by Gotham Girl, and it wasn't getting owned by Gotham Girl that was offensive to me. Because I have nothing is offensive to me in this case, but you have this super powered character that's been kind of jacked up to be almost Superman level of power, and you have Captain Atom maybe coming in a little too arrogant and getting beat up. I don't find that part weird. What I find pathetic about it is that Captain Atom basically kind of moping around in bed afterward. That was the part that was just kind of very tone deaf for the character and just rotten. And I hope at some point the publishers will wake up to the damage that they're doing to these characters. And I mean, and really looking at it from the perspective of, you have these independent contractors, you have these people you're paying with no commitment, no ongoing commitment, no promise of employment, nothing like that. And you're giving them IP that in some cases is 60, 70 years old of being developed. And you're letting them kind of do whatever they want and basically undo and damage these properties severely damage them. And a lot of people can go, oh yeah, I like that story. Like I've said in other videos, there's always one out there who's like, I like this story. It was great for me. That's nice, but there's a reason why there's such things as style guides, and there's supposed to be a group called editorial that's supposed to basically watch over these properties and make sure that you don't screw them over for a short-term stunt. And it's in all things, whether it's in comic books or movies or food or brands. I mean, there's a reason why McDonald's doesn't take the approach that Wendy's has taken on their Twitter account. And the Wendy's Twitter account's hilarious, kind of how they, just have become kind of this rebel Twitter poster. And that's cool. That's fine that they do that. I think that there's nothing wrong with Wendy's doing that. It fits kind of who they are and how they want to steer their brand. But if McDonald's suddenly started doing the same thing, like they took Ronald McDonald and they said, let's make Ronald McDonald like an angry clown. Let's make him like an it, kind of scary, and let's have him just like rail on people on Twitter. On one hand, that'd be funny, and we would all be entertained for several weeks on that idea. But 5 years later, when Twitter is been imploded from not making a profit and being just a cesspool of garbage, then what are we left with? We're left with this terrible history of a Ronald McDonald gone to seed, and now that character, that IP, is dead. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not like Ronald McDonald's $1 billion character. I mean, the business is, but you got to do more than that. I got off topic here. The point was Forge. Forge, I think, is a really genius property. I think it's been done. He's been largely ignored more than done wrong. So that's, I guess, good news. And hopefully, that, I mean, there you go. Marvel, there is a property that is just sitting there, right there, waiting for you to take it up and do amazing things with it on all fronts, in the comic books, in the movies. I mean, hey, you want to have a more diverse MCU? Awesome. How about you go hire a cool Native American actor, throw him into Forge, and you could have a pretty awesome film. All the elements are there. And hey, look at it this way: you could do a variant cover where you've got Forge and he's kind of standing there with a drum and he's looking kind of sad, and you have like Quentin Quire. And he's got a like a Covington uniform on. He's kind of smirking at Forge, and there you go. You could have a nice variant cover. CNN will promote it, and there you go. Million copies sold. CB, that's how you do it. All right. Hey, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Leave your comments below. What do you think? Good character, bad character? Do you even know who this character is? Love to hear your feedback. Hey, thanks for listening.